All across the world, you can find creation stories that are based on vibration from sound being the cause of setting our entire universe into motion. The Hindu claim creation arose from the primordial sound Om, representing the universe and the ultimate reality. An Egyptian story of creation depicts the beginning of our world as a primordial sleeping water, surrounded by chaos on all sides. From this arose a bird called the Binu bird, an ancestor of the phoenix and bringer of light. The legend says, at the sound of the bird's cry, time began and our world came into existence. In the Western world, the ancient story says that the sound of God's voice spoke the world into creation with the words, "Let there be light." Science's theory of creation claims that 13.8 billion years ago, before there were any stars or galaxies, our universe was just a ball of hot plasma made up of electrons, protons, and light. And that sound waves are what shook the infant universe, setting the stage for creation just after the Big Bang. But on a smaller scale, imagine each of us in the beginning, in our own primordial sea of infancy, 9 months before our own personal Big Bang into this world. As an embryo in our mother's womb, at 22 days and just about the size of a millimeter, we are already starting to develop the first aspects of the inner ear. Our hearing, our ability to take in sound, is our very first sense that is developed. At just 25 weeks, this sense is fully functioning. And even though at this time all of the other senses have developed as well, the eyes remain closed, and the nose and the mouth are surrounded and filled with liquid, so they aren't active. But the ability to sense sound is. And sound travels through water 5 times faster than through air. So your total experience in the womb is through hearing and through the sense of sound vibration. From the sound of your mother's voice and the world all around you as you develop in the womb, to the sound of the cosmos and the symphony of the divine, sound is at the forefront of creation.
There is a vast history to the art of sound healing. For 40,000 years, the Aboriginal instrument that we know as the didgeridoo has been used as a healing tool. It was used to treat everything from broken bones to illness, muscular problems to emotional imbalance. The sound of this instrument has been found to be completely in line with more recent instrument types. Healing temples that used the 3-pronged approach of light, sound, and magnetism are well documented part of our history. The Greek philosopher Pythagoras, who died in 570 BC, is documented as the first professional to use sound as medicine. Today, we bring to you the power of sound and vibration. As we know, Albert Einstein said, everything in life is vibration. Energy is a naturally vibrating substance. Atoms vibrate all the time, and vibration is naturally linked with sound. Even when we can't hear it, feel it, or know it is happening, the energy within us and around us is vibrating. And because we're vibrating, our human body is greatly affected by the vibrations around us, within us. And so sound therapy is a beautiful thing to help us heal and get our vibration back into alignment. So that's what we're talking about today.
That's the topic for today. And we recently just started doing sound bath together.
We did, yes.
And it's super fun, and I love it. I mean, I loved, coming to them, and now I love being able to
Be a part of
be a
it.
part of it. Yeah.
It's interesting because I would consider Maria Elena a very musical person. She is always listening to music. If you follow her on social media, she's basically posting what she's listening
I'm
to
like, guys,
all the
this is what
time.
I'm listening to all day, every day. Y'all need to listen.
And me, I have always been sensitive to sound. Since I was a very small child, very, very sensitive to sound. And the environment around me, and people being angry, and I've always been quite isolated because of the impact that I feel. So I'm very in tune with the vibrational aspect
Right.
of sound. And a few years ago, I decided I wanted a singing bowl. I don't remember why I suddenly wanted one, but I wanted a crystal singing bowl. And so for the holidays, my mother gave me my first one, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. I believe it was the throat chakra. And I was instantly in love. I was like, this is amazing. I could feel the vibrations, I could feel the healing. And my birthday was coming up just a couple months later. I'm like, I want another one. So I got another one. I think I got the solar plexus for my second one. And then within like a week, I was like, oh, I'm buying the rest of them. And that began the obsession with musical instruments. And if you've worked with me, I use them in my healing sessions because of the powerful impact that they have. And so there's this amazing thing called entrainment, which I don't remember the name of the professor who did this study, but it had to do with clock pendulums. If you put all the clocks in the same room, eventually they would all sync up.
Right.
Well, our energy is very much the same way. The loudest vibration in the room, your body is going to entrain to. It's going to meet up. So if you're in a really stressful environment at work, if you're driving, which we'll talk more about this later, if you're driving and you have road rage, like some of us, I don't know who that might be, but our bodies, the energy of our bodies will naturally begin to vibrate with what is around us that is the loudest.
That makes so much sense.
And so the opposite can also be true. And why sound therapy is so impactful and so helpful is that if you surround your body with sounds and vibrations that are specifically at frequencies that are attuned to your body, let's say you have heartbreak, you're really sad, you're really lonely, you're feeling abandoned, like you want to listen to some 528. You want to listen to something that's attuned to the heart chakra, and that is going to balance out those energies. That's going to bring that soothing and shift your vibration back to its natural state. So, because we can absorb, right? Sound and vibration also enters us anywhere. It doesn't only come into our ears.
And that's what's fascinating, because there's the hearing element, but there's also the vibration element.
Right.
And like we were talking about earlier, that's why like people who can't hear can still get the benefits from the vibration.
Absolutely. Whether you can hear or not, whether you see it, whether you feel it, doesn't really matter. The sound waves and the frequencies can reach your body and go where they need to go to balance you out regardless. So
that's so cool and magical.
It is so cool and magical. Yeah. So because they can enter and they pass through density, sound therapy can be extremely healing. Anything from listening to music in the car that makes you happy, or lifts your spirits, keeps you from getting road rage.
Well, since we're talking about it, we were talking about some of the things that we do with sound that's healing. And fun fact about me is I don't road rage, which I'm starting to realize is very rare, because even almost everyone has road rage.
Well,
even
because
people,
nobody can drive.
Yeah. I'm always shocked to see when I get in a car with people that it's very common for people, even calm people, even people who are together most of the time,
Like
get
me.
in the car, yeah, and are like, get the F out of my way or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But so what I do, because I love music. Music just like soothes me and calms me. But I will get in my car, and especially like if it's raining or something, I'll pick the type of music that I listen to, so I can create an environment in my car. And I'm still aware of what's going on around me with my sight. I'm not just like in my own, well, I kind of am in my own little world, but safely.
I've been in the car with you.
Yeah. I've never been in an accident. Just want to say that, but I definitely do get in my own world in my car. But it keeps me. The music that I play really sets like my comfort in my environment and keeps me from road raging. So like if it's raining outside, I might listen to some reggae, and I'll be like in the tropics in my car, and I'm like, it's sunshiny in here, and no one's gonna affect my vibe. If it's sometimes I listen to classical music in the car. I just always set like the tone of the feeling that I want to feel, and I don't let the energy of other drivers affect me, and I do that through music.
We've talked about before how the energy of our environment and how that can dictate how we're feeling and how important it is. And if one aspect of us is experiencing something, our whole existence, our whole experience, our whole body, mind, emotions are also in the game. So like you're saying, you're in the car, it's raining, you put on tropical music, you're not at all sad about the rain outside of you because you created a different environment, and your body and mind and emotions are right there with you.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's very helpful.
Then you also take baths with music every night, right?
Right. Every single night. And we were talking about this earlier, how sometimes you just do, or me especially, I'm just intuitive and I do things and I don't really understand why they work, but they just work. But it makes so much sense with we were going to talk some about the solfeggio frequencies, and they're like the healing tones, and the different, hertz for different things. But every night I take a bath, and I'll listen to them. And like I was saying earlier with the introduction of how sound travels 5 times faster in water, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's why it's so therapeutic and healing for me to be in the bathtub. And water also amplifies that vibration. So I'll pick different frequencies for different things. And there's frequencies for all different things. You can heal your body. You can, relax. We have a list of some of them.
We do have a list of some of them if you're interested. Of course, you can look all of these things up, but 174 hertz releases pain and heals sick auras. Man, most people have sick auras around that I come across these days. It can reduce back pain, foot and leg pain, and migraines and stress. Right. So a 174, and you can go onto YouTube and
that's what I do.
Look up the hertz and just play. And there's tons of artists out there, and there'll be anything from 20 minutes to 8 hours. You can sleep to them and all kinds of things. So they're really good for you.
And that's what I do. I pick a different one depending on, do I actually want some physical healing? I was saying earlier when I was having, the problems with my kidneys, and I was trying to do different energy work and different things to help. And that was one of the things I did. But, I might want to, listen to a really high frequency of like, some of them.
Like a 963, which wakes up your intuition and crown chakra.
So there's all, like, you can literally just Google what you want to listen to. And I very much recommend doing it in the bathtub.
So, speaking of frequencies, in singing bowls, there's this controversy, and also with music, is it at 432 or 440? And I actually have both sets of bowls. I have 440 and 432. And the 440 is known as cerebral music. It massages your brain and soothes anxiety. It strengthens your cognitive growth and awakens your third eye chakra. So a lot of people kind of it's not 432, it's not worth listening to. But there's definitely benefits to the 440.
What is the 432?
The 432 targets your heart chakra.
Okay.
The tone soothes your soul and encourages mental and emotional clarity and openness. And listening to this tone can really help with your spiritual growth. It's also connected with the vibration of the earth. So it's very grounding and very healing on many levels. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them are a lot more common than others. There's one I found. I want to say it was 232. Remember we were talking about it, and we could find it, but it was there wasn't a lot of information on it. There wasn't a lot of sound recordings on it. But I remember we were looking for it. And we found like one or two of them.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. I can't remember what it does, but it was just one that I like picked up or something.
You had it in download, as I recall.
It was a download.
Yeah. There's wonderful frequencies to help you sleep. All kinds of things, and using sound therapy which is a natural thing because sound and vibration are synonymous. We can't have one without the other. And we know we're energy, and we know our energy is vibrating. Why wouldn't you use this as a healing tool? Of course, it just makes sense. And sound therapy is about learning to listen, to truly listen. Of course, setting intentions helps. And not simply to just feel them with your ear or hear them with your ears, but to feel that with your body. Just like you're probably not noticing when you're in the tub that you can feel the vibrations, but we do.
Right.
It's subtle, right? And we're so in our head, and there's so much noise around us that we don't pay attention, but you can dial in. You can go inward and really begin to feel the vibrations and feel it shifting and moving. It's one of the reasons I love sound therapy so much, or doing sound baths, is that it doesn't require anything of the participant except to lay there and to listen. And you can't help but listen, right? Sure, your mind will go, and sometimes your thoughts wander, and sometimes people fall asleep, and sometimes they leave the space and they're journeying and they're someplace else, and all that's okay. Because the sound still has the therapeutic benefits, because they're in the room and the vibrations are still moving across their body, moving through their body, and altering whatever might be stuck, whatever's out of alignment. It's shifting that energy back into its natural, healthy state just by being in the room. And then, of course, if you add intention to it, then which I always invite people to do at the beginning of sound bath, is to set an intention. What do you want to release? What do you want to clear? What do you want to bring in? And if you set that intention, then of course it has even more impactful benefits. But whether you're hearing impaired, cannot hear at all, whether the noise bothers you, your mind is going, it still has this amazing, healthy benefit.
Those vibrations are still moving through you.
Yes, because we are inundated by vibrations every day. EMFs, power lines, the towers. What's the new thing? G something.
The 5G.
5G.
Towers.
That's it. Yeah. I was like, I knew that didn't sound right.
That's a whole thing.
The 5G towers, right? We're inundated with all of those vibrations, and then our body is in training to it because it's everywhere, literally. Who doesn't have a computer in their house? Who doesn't have Wi-Fi in their house? Who isn't using Bluetooth? Right? All of these things are happening, and very few people are doing anything to counteract it. Which there are many ways. Salt lamps and crystals and all different kinds of things are used to regulate EMFs these days. So sound, if you're gonna live in a house with all of these things, or live in a world with all of these things like shifting and affecting your energy and impacting you in these negative ways, creating more stress, more anxiety, more dis-ease, then how easy is it to turn on some frequency music and get yourself back to this beautiful, healthy state, or at least begin the journey back to a beautiful, healthy state.
Well, even with like natural sounds, this makes me think of the thing I was telling you about that I did the other day. So I did this thing where I did some like brain repatterning, and it had to do with my eyes.
Oh, yeah, this is such a cool thing. We might talk about this in another episode.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. But after I was done with it, it was recommended that you don't look at your phone, your TV, not even read, like anything with your eyes. But so then I was like, for an hour it said, and I was like, well, what am I going to do for a whole hour? And
how many people could actually do this? Sit and do nothing for an hour.
Right. And I did it, and it was amazing. And now that I'm thinking about it, it also made me stay away from like the technology for a whole hour, because I had to listen. Well, what I ended up doing, but like I couldn't look at my phone. So so many times we're tempted to get on our phone and get in a hole and like just aimlessly scroll or whatever. Like we constantly have our phones in our hands, so I had to put that away. But in the process of what am I going to do, I literally just, a little bit before that, I was listening to this video, and it said silent is an anagram of listen. So if you take the letters and respell them, silent and listen are the same word. And I was like, whoo, it really stuck in my head.
Ding, 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 ding.
So I was like, I'm going to sit in silence and really listen. So that's what I did. I closed my eyes and I sat. First I did it inside the house, and I just listened to all the natural sounds around me. I started with my own, like hearing myself breathe, my heartbeat, the different sounds in the room, and then I would listen like outside of the room, outside of my house, and I did that for like 30 minutes. And earlier when we were talking about it, you were like, well, how did that help you?
Yeah, what was the benefit?
What was the benefit? And I was like,
being silent.
I just know it helped me because I was, inspired afterward, but I started thinking about it. And the fact that I was focusing so much on the sounds was clearing my mind and my mind clutter. And I did it for 30 minutes inside, and then I went outside and did it, the birds, the wind, like really listen to all the natural sounds around me. And after that hour, I was inspired. I started writing. I had ideas, and it was because just sitting in silence and actually listening to natural sounds was able to clear my mind.
How else did you feel? Did it bring you down, like calm you down, center you?
Yeah, centered, grounded. I felt amazing. And I recommend. An hour is a long time. We were talking about that.
Yeah, who's going to sit for an hour? I mean, I get distracted. Right. I would be like, I would want to look at what was making the sound.
Right.
Like, I can't even go to sound bath without opening my eyes and seeing what instrument they're playing. It's terrible. So, this is interesting. I think I might have to challenge myself to do this and see about sitting in silence. Because I find even when I spend almost all my time alone, and I usually will have some kind of something in the background. There's either music playing or there's a TV show, just so that I don't know,
I feel like a lot of people do
silence
that too.
Is hard. Although
hard.
It's beautiful out here. It's nice to not have sound, but then I think it just like keeps me company.
Yeah.
And I'm a triple Aquarian, so I'm always in my headspace, right? I'm always thinking. So actually, the sound distracts me from the constant thinking. So I'm wondering, for me, who is a thinker,
right?
Not an overthinker, but I'm a thinker. That's how I process as an Aquarian. And a manifesting generator,
right?
Design is I'm always thinking, creating, inspired, right? So I use the sound to get me out of that thinking space. What would it do if it was totally silent? I'm gonna have to try it. I'll get back to you guys on that. I'm gonna have to see if I can do it.
And I would recommend everyone try it. I mean, even if you just do it for 10 minutes, you know what I mean? But just really focus on
with a like an iPad, iPillow, or a sleep mask on so I don't peek.
Yeah, so you're not tempted to peek.
I'd be totally peek. What bird was that? What's flowing by? What? I feel something. What's going on?
Well, I got deep into it, and this is just me trying to use my intuition and psychic ability, but I'm really, really listening. So then I started asking can I hear what people are saying in the next house? Can I really expand,
Did you hear anything else?
No, not bummer. At that time. I have before, but that time I didn't. But it was just beautiful.
I imagine with practice, you could tap into that thread of sound, right? That vibration of sound and hear it. Okay, experiment we'll be trying. We'll get back to you.
We'll report back in a future episode.
Yes. How the silent listening to neighbors experiment. Shh, don't tell anybody.
I just got new neighbors too that live right next door. So
Okay.
sorry, neighbors.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Did you have a third? That was your three?
So yeah, I came with no, that was the three.
That was the three. Cool.
Yeah, the three things that I do with sound therapy, personal things that I do. So
really another interesting thing about sound and vibration is the voice, right? And through some of my sound therapy certification and things, they talk about the voice and in speech therapy or in literal sound therapy, how they teach you that the voice is your own natural voice is the most healing sound for you because it's perfectly tuned for your body.
However, so interesting because so many people don't like their own voice.
Right. Well, and the reason they don't like their own voice is because from the time we're very small, when we're singing or toning or humming or whatever, we're, shh, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, right? And then as we're growing up, it's no, you must enunciate more. You must be louder and project, or no, you have to be quieter. So we're constantly dialing our
voice. So we're conditioned to not like
up and down, and right, we're conditioned not to like it. And then, so a lot of people will talk through their nose or actually from their throat space, and neither of those sounds actually induce attention from people. People will listen less to you when you talk through your nose or through your throat than if you take your voice down into your diaphragm and you come from that chest space. As you think about your chest, it's this big sound cavern, right? Like that's its capacity.
That's where your voice is going to carry from.
It's going to carry from that space, yes. So when we're using our voice for healing purposes, it's important to take your voice out of your nose, out of your throat, and down into your chest space. And then you can use your voice for toning, for mantras, for affirmations, because that frequency is perfect for you when done from that space, right? So if you are a liar, a complainer, a gossiper, all of that is causing issues in the throat chakra and making the sound of your voice toxic rather than medicine. So we think about that, and we think about, I'm always talking about watch what you say. What are the words, right? How are you using your voice? And we don't think about the fact that not only is it your voice that is affecting or conditioning or influencing your thoughts or vice versa, but it's also affecting your energy in a very deep way. So not only do we not want to speak in words that are not aligned with what we want.
Right. Which we've talked a lot about.
We've talked a lot about that. But we also want to make sure that we're using that literal medicine that we have in our body to benefit us.
It'd be interesting to do like a little experiment and see how people pay attention to you when you speak, maybe. Of see where you speak from. Like if you're speaking from your, like you said, your chest cavity, but also where your heart is. You're speaking from your heart as well when you're speaking from there.
Yes, so. Rather than the judgment or the criticism.
Right.
The gossip or, all of those things. And people talk about teasing and playing, I'm just joking, whatever. But those things are not positive. The energy of them is not positive. So it's not medicine for you or for anyone else.
Right.
It's poison. And so, you could
especially for yourself, but you're saying for other people as well.
Yeah. Think about how the words that you're using. So even if you didn't want to experiment with other people, experiment with yourself.
Yeah.
And, stand in the mirror and talk to yourself and say an affirmation from your nose, say an affirmation from your throat.
Right.
Say an affirmation from your chest.
And see how that makes you feel.
And see how it feels in your body. Or maybe not even look in front of the mirror because we can be distracted by our eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Say those things. And listen. How does it feel how did the words, the vibration,
vibration
that your
of-
voice is making, how does it feel in your body when you say this affirmation coming from these three different places?
Right. I wonder if you sing affirmations. Do people do that?
Sure. Well, that's toning and mantras, right?
Yeah. Speaking of toning, this is kind of a side note, but I was doing I was telling you about, I was doing a hypnosis session, and when it got to, so during these sessions, just briefly, like, you contact your higher self and you go through, discoveries and information, but also healing. And there's a healing component to the session, where you ask the higher self to bring in energy and heal. Well, I was working with a client recently, and during this healing, this was so amazing. It's like you can't make this stuff up. I'm so glad these sessions are recorded so that the client can hear what happens. But there was this energetic healing going on, and the client started toning, and it was such a beautiful sound. It was almost like not of this world, sort of. It was such a natural, probably coming from that place of, the heart and the
chest cavity.
The chest cavity. Yeah. It was so
the higher
amazing.
Self was healing with sound.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Perfect exclamation point on this conversation of how beneficial sound and vibration can be. It can also be detrimental if we are surrounding ourselves with energy that is not conducive to health and wellness, but how healing and beneficial it can be to have sound.
Yeah, so I think it would be important to just pay attention to what you listen to, even with music, like the frequencies or the tones or the type of music that you listen to.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you, this is kind of a side note too, but if you listen to really angry death metal. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'm not sure that feels good unless you have a lot of anger you're needing to
need to get out,
and that helps you release the anger. Then I can see where that would be beneficial, but not as I'm going to calm me down.
Not knocking anyone who listens to death metal, by the way, if that's your jam. But I could see it if you listen to it all day, every day, and that's all you listen to. That can't be good for you. But like you said, if you listen to it, okay, I need to release something today.
I'm going to headbang and jump up and down and scream and get it out.
And that way it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But just
follow it up with something healing.
Yeah.
Then listen to a frequency that will be conducive to centeredness and wellness.
Get your death metal on and then zen out to something else.
I love that. Death metal first, zen second. Got it. I love that. It's perfect. So I have a list here of just some of the amazing benefits, scientifically proven benefits of sound therapy. It boosts your mental energy. It balances your chakras, clarifies your thinking. It increases your physical energy. It increases concentration. It creates a mind and body balance, which God knows we all need. Mm-hmm. It provides stress relief. Again, everyone needs. It quiets worries and anxious thoughts. It relaxes thoughts and aids relief from mental chatter. It silences the internal dialogue of negative thinking. And when used with other things like meditation, it can really enhance your overall well-being. Any kind of stillness, meditation, or yoga where there's focused breath work and sound, right? This combination of putting the body in a state of receptivity, which I think is the purpose of the motionlessness.
And that's why
puts us in that state of receptivity.
When some of you listeners that come to meditation, Marnie we do the guided meditation and the stillness and all that, but the sound bowls are included too. So you have that component of sound healing as well.
I always use the sound therapy in some way, and the solfeggio frequencies or the crystal pyramid or gongs.
Right.
Gongs have been used in China for centuries for healing. Tuning forks, which tuning forks can have a sound or simply a vibration. They both work in the same way. So if you're really sensitive to sound, tuning forks can actually really, you can touch them to the body or you can wave them over the body, and that vibration will shift the vibration that is surrounding your body.
Have you ever put a tuning fork on a crystal? I saw this the other day about.
Yes.
Okay, I've never. I was like, that's so cool. Like, what does it do?
I don't know. Why would you do that?
I don't know. I read somewhere that you can get like the vibration or something from the crystal by putting the tuning fork on the crystal. I have to do some more research and figure out what the point of that was. Mm-hmm. I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, because you can program a crystal, but you can't change the vibration of the crystal. The vibration of the crystal is natural, which is one of the reasons why people use crystals so much in any kind of healing therapies, is because they have a particular vibration. And you cannot change that vibration because it's a crystal, right? The vibration is based on the structure and how it was formed and the mineral components of it. So it can't really be changed.
Right.
And that's why adding them like to the body when you're doing healing work is those frequencies are then, those vibrations are then in your energy field, and they are going to entrain your energy back into that aligned space.
I love that.
Yeah, crystals are pretty awesome.
Yeah, they are.
So even though crystals don't make a sound that we can hear, of course they're vibrating.
Right.
We just can't hear them. They can also be used for sound and vibration therapy.
Right.
So many beautiful things we have access to.
Yeah, definitely.
That really can benefit our overall state of wellness and well-being. And why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So the voice, bowls, tuning pipes, tuning forks, crystal pyramids, gongs, drums. Drums are another really beautiful sound therapy. There's something that it takes you, crystal bowls as well, take you into that theta state.
Right.
Of the brain, which allows for reprogramming, right? And so when we're doing journey work or anything like that, any kind of healing really, and you use the bowls or drums, it shifts your mind into that theta state, that theta brainwave state, and allows you to release some of those programs and those limiting beliefs, and the important thing is you need to replace them with something positive and more in aligned with who you are, where you want to go, that sort of thing. So again, if you're going to replace words, you're going to want to use your voice coming from your chest.
Chest and from your heart.
From your heart, rather than your nose or just your throat space. Right. And I know that seems kind of counterintuitive because we talk about the throat chakra and whatnot, but we're so conditioned to project our voice this way or that way, turn it up, turn it down,
right?
Don't like it, can't sing, right? All the stories around that. And can't we, or we can shift that by shifting our voice and finding our own true voice.
Right.
Literal voice.
Right. And since we're speaking of like shifting in our language, do you want to...
The language laboratory.
Welcome to the language laboratory.
Yes. So this is something I've been thinking about for a while, and there's these phrases. I remember my daughter got me a book called How to Be a Badass or something. I can't remember the name of it. It was a very popular book.
I have a book that someone gave me that's called Badass Ancestors.
Okay.
And I'm like, I get the gist of it, but it's a little...
Right.
Like...
Yeah. So badass, and then the other thing is like boss bitch, right? And they've been used in this way to be complimentary, quote unquote. And here's my issue with them. Do you say the word asshole to people? Which is not complimentary.
Oh my God, you're such an asshole. Like,
Right.
you try to say it nice and make it sound cool. Oh, you're such an asshole. No, it doesn't work.
Right? And we call people bitches in a derogatory way. And so even though the intention behind the words may be complimentary, essentially at their core, there is negative associations with them. There is negative programming. We believe those words to be derogatory. Even if it's not conscious, in the
Right.
subconscious, we have this belief that, so I'm saying to you, oh, you're such a boss bitch. And you're like, cool, thanks. But somewhere in there, you didn't hear the compliment. You heard the derogatory comment.
Right. Even if you want to, or even if, like you said, the intention is there, somewhere like in that programming,
Right.
we know that word is
Yeah.
is not a
Right.
not a positive
And
word.
generally, these things, boss bitch and badass, are referred to strong women.
Right.
Generally, people don't call men those things. They're usually referred to for women.
For women.
And I think it plays into that conditioning of competition.
Right.
And like, I'm complimenting you, but kind of giving you a slight at the same time.
Right.
I need to knock you down a notch because you're cool or you're amazing, right? It's not conscious.
And that makes me feel uncomfortable, like the person saying it.
Right.
And like you said, not necessarily consciously.
Right.
But it's like,
But there's
oh,
you're amazing.
yeah.
Let me knock you down a peg.
yes.
And it's not conscious. I don't believe it's conscious because I do believe there are a lot of women out there, and the energy, of course, is shifting into this more supportive, dynamic between women.
It's a step in the right direction, at least,
Yes,
but
and
it's,
let's step it so we use language that is actually empowering and
Right.
not in any way negative.
right.
I would rather you say to me, "Oh my gosh, you're such an empowered leader. I'm in awe of the way that you command a room. Wow, I really aspire to, have that kind of courage, or you're so dynamic." Let's use words that actually are complimentary and
Right.
feel good, rather than, I don't want to be told I'm a badass. Because also bad is not a complimentary word, even though pop culture and
Yes.
I don't know if you look in the Urban
Michael Jackson,
Dictionary,
bad.
right, it's bad. It's still bad is still in our programming, in our conditioning is bad. Because if you go into a job performance review and you're either good or you're bad, they're not going to say to you, you're bad, man. You're getting a raise.
You're
No.
such a badass. Let's
Right.
give you that promotion.
Yeah, that's not what you're going to hear.
Well, one thing you said that put it into perspective for me, because I think too, for younger people, it's all about the slang and the cool way of saying things, and so people get like caught up in that. But what put it into perspective for me, because I'm just as guilty as saying like things like that. I don't really say badass. I don't think it's just not one of my words. We did have this time where we would call women babs, which is a badass bitch, but we would say you're such a bab, but it still means the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when
So you've got 3 derogatory comments
you're a badass
into a compliment.
bitch. Yeah.
Badass and bitch.
Yeah.
That does not sound like a compliment.
Right. But
And it may sound like a compliment, but it probably doesn't feel like one.
even if you feel it a little bit, it's like you're not able to fully accept the whole like empowerment of the compliment.
Right.
You're only getting like, oh, someone's giving me a compliment, but you're not fully being able to embrace it.
Right.
But when you said, when we had the women's retreat last spring, and we all sat around in a circle and we gave each other compliments, and you were like, well, could you imagine if we, in that setting, in that empowering and like magical,
Supportive, beautiful circle
of women, you're a badass bitch. Like, no, that doesn't really
go.
It doesn't go. So then that kind of put it into perspective for me.
Yeah.
So if you think about like, well, not everyone's come to a retreat,
Right.
which you guys can, which you definitely can.
That's true.
But, you know, if you're out in the world and you're like, you know, just if I put myself in that situation, like, what would I say to empower another woman?
Yeah.
You know?
Think about that and think about what would you actually want to hear?
What would you want to hear? Yes.
What kind of, how did they actually make you feel? And I think things like saying badass bitch and boss bitch and things like that, we are uncomfortable being complimentary to another woman because we've been conditioned to be uncomfortable with that. We've been conditioned to believe we're in competition.
Because even in that setting, we were all uncomfortable.
Everyone was really uncomfortable taking the compliments. Yeah. Which is the reason we do it, is you learn to receive.
And we all sat around and wrote them down, like we took turns in each person's journal writing down the compliments. And we were saying earlier, would you want to read, like, later on, like, you're really, you know, trying to boost your confidence, you're a badass bitch in your book.
Right.
And it just wouldn't, like, you know.
It wouldn't give you the warm fuzzies in that moment, especially.
Right.
So the invitation is to think about, how did they actually make you feel? And if you're feeling some feels around being intimidated or feeling less than or not enough, that's something for you to work on. And the best way to do that is to be able to recognize it in someone else, right? Go, okay, you really inspired me to be more courageous, right? You are such an empowered leader, or, you know, that was so powerful for me. Thank you for sharing, right? Think about what you actually want to say, and what would you want to hear?
What would you want to hear? Yeah, that's really important.
If you were in that scenario, because I don't want to hear I'm a badass bitch or that I'm a boss bitch. I don't want to hear those things because they are derogatory.
Right.
And that's just the truth of the matter, right? We can call it slang and put it in the Urban Dictionary all day long, but the conditioning and programming that most of us have is they are derogatory comments.
Right. And just thinking about the fact that, like you said, you wouldn't say that to a man. So it's almost like we are giving, as women, are giving ourselves these somewhat false negative compliments instead of wholehearted compliments for just us women.
Right.
You know, so it's like we're doing it to ourselves. We don't even realize that we are, you know, but
it's just more of the crumbling of the patriarchy, that programming and conditioning, that we're in competition, that we're against each other, that somehow if you have it, I can't have it, which is just ridiculous. Like, none of that is true.
It is ridiculous, but it's very ingrained in us, and most women do, whether they admit it or not, feel that way.
But they're not in competition, or they are in competition. So we get to change that by changing language, which is the reason we have language laboratories.
Yes.
Giving you an opportunity to look at things in a different way, right? Really taking this way forward by the reins and saying, this is what I want it to look like. Right. And I want to compliment a woman, and I want her to feel amazing because I've complimented her.
Right.
I want to tell her her hair looks like a crown, not, bitch, your hair's amazing. Thanks.
And I wonder how, since this whole episode was about sound, and how your voice will really, your true voice, how it will carry if you say these authentic words and these genuine words instead of these.
Yeah, impact in a positive way, which I think at our core, don't we all really want to have a positive impact? Really, I think that generally we all want to be happy and have a positive impact on the world around us.
Right.
So we do that with, using our true voice coming from deep inside.
Absolutely.
To heal rather than to harm or to hurt.
That's what it's all about.
It is. Yes. Awesome. Do we have anything else to say about sound? I think we covered it.
I think we covered everything on the sound. And moving from the language laboratory, this week's featured Tea for Tea Time with Valentine's Day coming up. Is it next week?
Yep.
Next week.
Valentine's Day is Wednesday, and Galentine's Day is on Tuesday.
And for those of you who don't know what that is, because I didn't know what that was. I heard someone say it, and I thought they were pronouncing Valentine's Day wrong.
It actually
I was
came
like-
from a sitcom
Oh,
just
did
a few years ago, and then it stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not been a long time thing.
So it's gal, G-A-L, Galentine's. So, like, you know, what
so those of us who are not in a relationship are not left off the table.
Yeah. I don't get too much into Valentine's Day, but I do understand that, like, you can feel some type of way if you're not in a relationship and everyone's like, oh, my boyfriend did this or my girlfriend, or we're doing this romantic
or the
thing.
expectation around it.
Yeah,
There's
that's
so
very
much pressure. Like, did you get the right roses? Did you get the right chocolate? Like, really?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
It's a
You
lot.
should be doing those things all year long, supporting each other, loving each
Exactly.
other. It shouldn't be one day a year, which is the reason I actually don't like it.
Yeah. So, but for the tea for that, which is, well, the tea is called Kiss of Aphrodite. And it's all about, I call it the love spell blend, but that doesn't necessarily mean like, it can. So it's about
Doesn't necessarily mean like a relationship.
right. It's about self-love, or, you know, attracting that unity with someone that you do want. It can go either way. So it's perfect for Valentine's or Galentine's Day. But, so the tea blend has honeybush tea as the tea that's in it, and it has passion flower, which passion flower is good for peace, love, passion, obviously. It has soothing benefits. It's got rosebuds and petals for beauty, inner harmony, and helping with that goddess glow.
Oh, yes.
Union and happiness, and then lobelia for love and energy. It's also delicious. It has strawberries and chocolate slivers in it.
Yummy.
So it's perfect. You get that, like, you get the healing benefits, but also the deliciousness and
It's like a little decadent.
Yes.
A little luxurious.
in a nice steamy cup of tea.
Yeah. And like you're hanging out in Aphrodite's temple.
Right. So I wrote, fall in love with yourself or attract that passionate union you've been seeking with this Kiss of Aphrodite's tea blend.
I love that. So we're actually serving it at our Galentine's Day event. So if you're local and you don't know about Galentine's Day, it is, as this gets published, will be Tuesday, tomorrow night. You must RSVP. You can find information on the website, calendar about Galentine's Day event, and try the tea. Or
Right.
you can order it.
Yeah.
You can just go right into ordering it. It is available also in the
Right.
shop.
We will be serving it at the Galentine's event, which is going to be so fun. And then also, like she said, you can find it on the website.
Yeah. Awesome.
And so, as we leave you today, we part with our words of wisdom. And this is from Professor, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I'm going to try. Professor Inayat Khan. And the words are, divine sound is the cause of all manifestation. The knower of the mystery of sound knows the mystery of the whole universe.
Ooh, I love that.